What's up guys, and welcome back to my Lorethrough series. Today we're starting our final lap around Liurnia of the Lakes by taking a closer look at its more significant dungeons we haven't previously covered. We start off this video in Bellum Church, where we see a familiar face, Hayeda.
Oh, hello. Is that you over there? Have you ever heard of fingerprint grapes? They're special grapes which only grow on those who've been clasped by the burnt fingers. I would truly love to try one. The distant light seems far closer than before, but I can't sense a thing from the usual grapes anymore. Please, could you donate a fingerprint grape to me? Without one, I don't know. I feel like I might go mad.
Shabriri grapes, if you remember, were the eyes of those afflicted by the flame of frenzy, which spreads like an infection of madness across the lands between. Fingerprint grapes are different because only those who came in direct contact with the three fingers have their eyes turned into these. Now the reason I told you all of this is that the fingerprint grape is in the Frenzied Flame village, which is the first location I'd like to talk about today. A note sold to us by a merchant tells us that it is south of the Grand Lift of Dectus and inhabited by the sick, along with a warning to stay well away. Upon approaching it, it's immediately clear what the warning was about, as there is this giant eye being conjured on top of a tower that's constantly damaging us and building up madness. We can get rid of the eye by killing the mad villagers that are conjuring it atop the tower though. Moving through the village, we approach the Church of Inhibition, where the mad spirit of the festering fingerprint Vike invades us, seemingly defending his maiden's corpse. After being defeated, he drops the fingerprint grape along with his frenzy-seared war spear. According to those items and the frenzied burst incantation he uses that is found nearby, he was once a knight of the Round Table Hold, but for a so far unknown reason, he wanted to become the Lord of Frenzied Flame, as this spirit NPC tells us. He tried to control the flame of frenzy, but seemingly succumbed to madness after a desperate internal struggle. Let's bring his eye back to Hayeda.
Fingerprint grape. Tried and true. What a wondrous thing. A fingerprint grape. Oh, how sweet. Yet, how it burns. Thank you. I've composed myself again. May the blessing of the fingers be upon you. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. I'm sure I'll be a finger maiden.
Looking at the fate of Vike and all the others afflicted by the flame of frenzy, it doesn't look good for Hayeda's potential future as finger maiden for the three fingers. Let's quickly return to the village though, as there are still a couple of items there that make a bit more sense of the three fingers and what exactly their goal is in the lands between. Both the Howl of Shabriri incantation we find in the tower and the Shabriri's Woe talisman we find in the village tell us the origin story of the Flame of Frenzy. Shabriri was the most reviled man in all history. He had his eyes gouged out as a punishment for the crime of slander, and the blight of the Flame of Frenzy came to dwell in his empty eye sockets. It is said that this is how the sickness of the Flame of Frenzy began. This begs the question though, how does the relatively minor crime of slander make one the most reviled man in history? In the village we can find a merchant's note that says, "Beneath Lane Dell, at the very bottom, lies our Lord, Lord of the Frenzied, the three fingers who hold us in thrall." Thanks to this note from the seemingly afflicted and deceased merchant, we now know where the three fingers are. Perhaps we will find answers to all of our and Hayeda's questions there. Needless to say, the saga about the Three Fingers and the Flame of Frenzy is to be continued. In my Black Knife print video, I said we'd be taking a closer look at Caria Manor in the future, and now's the perfect time for that. To recap its history, a Carian royal family lived here before Renala encountered her full moon, and became such a powerful sorcerer that she took over the Raya Lucaria Academy. After the now broken Renala was locked in the library by the Raya Lucarians, however, as she lost control of the academy, the Carian knights, servants and family all returned to the manor and successfully defended it from the Cuckoo soldiers sent by the academy to lay siege on it. After getting through the garden that's full of finger creepers, we get to a spirit of a Carian knight who welcomed Rani back to her home manor once she returned. Going up the stairs and across the walkway, someone summons puppets of Cuckoo soldiers, as well as some magic traps to defend the upper part of the manor. These puppets are the same Cuckoo soldiers who laid siege on Caria Manor after ending Renala's reign. Quite interesting that those who attacked the manor are now defending it against their own will. As we saw in the last episode though, eventually some of them broke free from their spell and ended up taking revenge on Pydia. On the left side of this walkway we can jump down into a small tower that has a chest with the Sword of Night and Flame, a treasure of the manor. Its description tells us the following about the Carians' heritage. Astrologers who preceded the sorcerers established themselves in mountaintops that nearly touched the sky, and considered the fire giants as their neighbors. This alliance seems to continue to this day, as just after the next grace, on the way up the stairs to the boss, we can fight a troll knight who is guaranteed to drop his troll knight sword. The sword tells us that these descendants of giants are still treated as true knights of Caria, equals to their human kin. This is quite different from how the Erdtree treats the trolls that serve them. As for the boss, Royal Knight Loretta, as this is just an apparition, we don't learn much about her, apart from the fact that the bow was her favorite weapon. Perhaps we'll find out more about her once we meet her in the flesh. On the topic of the Carian royal family, let's quickly talk about the Carian study hall. Despite looking like a massive building from the outside, there doesn't really seem to be too much to it. You take the elevator up, deal with some puppet enemies, then take another elevator up, and deal with the annoying Preceptor, picking up the Carian glintstone staff along the way, and the Cerulean Sea talisman on the rafters. But then there seems to be a dead end. No boss, no final room with a big reward or anything. However, if you paid close attention, you saw that this tower hides a secret. First of all, there's this spirit NPC in the entrance talking about the globe standing on the desk, obscuring the transgressions of the princess, by which he obviously means Rani and the Knight of the Black Knives. There must be something related to her plot hidden here. Notably, there's also this space right in front of the globe where something is supposed to be placed, and on the top floor, if you look up, you can see what looks like an upside down elevator with stairs on the side. Everything just doesn't seem right. We don't have the item that belongs on the pedestal yet though, so we will return to the study hall to lift its secrets soon enough. Let's finish up this video with the underground region of Liurnia, Ainsel River Well. We fight our way through an ant cave, including one particular ant bearing a big bubble that we can pop to get a bunch of runes and a rune arc. Then we reach the Ul Palace ruins, Notably, these ruins sit directly below the old palace ruins, while having the same architecture style, the ancient dynasty style we saw in Siofra River Well. I think the ancient dynasty ruins were all once above ground before they either slowly or from some natural catastrophe largely sunk underground, with only small remnants remaining above. The Clayman enemies from Siofra return down here, while the ancestral follower enemies patrol up top. Elden Ring is full of these little archaeological connections you can make. If you're interested in this kind of stuff and don't care too much about spoilers for the game, I recommend the Tarnished Archaeologist channel. He helped me shape some of my theories about the lore. Anyways, in the next bit we have this strange beast on the balcony shooting gravity magic at us. We can't really find out much about this thing yet, but we can find a path to get up to it and kill it. Next, there's another small ant cave where we can take a left here to kill some basilisks and get a stunning view of some more ruins, but submerged in a huge lake entirely of scarlet rot. It's really impressive how the flowing water up here managed to stave up not one but two types of rot from below, the scarlet rot from the lake and Godwin's Deathblight, which is represented by the basilisks as they can inflict it. We move on to this chair crypt where we can challenge the Dragonkin Soldier of Noxtella. At first, this just seems like a repeat of the Dragonkin Soldier in Limgrave, but at half health this one gets imbued with Ice Lightning, similarly to the Dragon Halberd we got as a weapon drop from the one in Limgrave. He becomes much more mobile and starts using his lightning against us. After defeating him, we claim the Frozen Lightning Spear, which tells us that this type of lightning is what they use because they were born in the Eternal City and never knew any true sky or true lightning. They are just pale imitations of dragons after all. Alright, that about covers all of the side legacy dungeons in Liurnia. We're almost ready to move on to Altus Plateau. We've just got the minor dungeons and field bosses left. We'll cover those in the next episode, finishing with the rune-strewn precipice that takes us to the Altus Plateau. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing. Otherwise, tell me how to improve these videos in the comments down below. I'll see you next time, bye bye!